Greetings, everyone. I am Joseph Freire, and on behalf of my fellow co-authors, it is my pleasure to be at the cyber edition of IAC, presenting our study focusing on the spacefaring Africa, the commercial space industry, and its readiness for innovation-driven investment. It was done as part of a research carried out by the Commercial Space Project Group, CSPG, of the Space Generation Advisory Council, SGAC. This study addresses one of the core topics of the CSPG, which aims at defining the enabling factors to foment space business opportunities worldwide and pave the way to a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem in developing countries. Our long-term goal is to identify the key factors that attract either national and foreign investment to developing countries, exploiting the opportunities brought to the game by the new space paradigm. Achieving such conclusions will allow us to raise the awareness on the topic and foment the development of emerging countries. To that end, we intend to involve the SGC network, a broad community of around 15,000 students and young professionals, to both provide their view on the topic and disseminate the results. On this ambitious effort, we choose Africa as the first case study to propose and test our methodology, as it currently encompasses some of the brightest efforts to succeed in the global space market. Furthermore, it also follows on the footsteps of previous research carried out within the SGAC, which recently studied the entrepreneurial potential of a small group of African nations.
With this study, we pretend to enlarge the scope of the research and to reach a much broader set of nations while focusing on the conditions currently created to foment the space sector in Africa. We then reach for people in the field to get inside view of the space sector in their home country and to get a better sense on their readiness to fix innovation driven investment. We analyze the infrastructures, capacity building efforts, and the overall state of space activities using a hybrid approach that gathers both qualitative and quantitative information towards the formulation of an index, the Space Business Readiness Level. This should be an indicator of the conditions for fruitful investment in the space sector to take place in a given country. For the study, we created a questionnaire targeting the young generation to get their first person view on the national space ecosystem. We did so by leveraging the SGAC network, reaching out to distinctive representatives within the African SGAC community. The questionnaire is opinion based, with sole goal of capturing the interviewee's views of the reality. To do so, we resort to a blend of open and close ended questions focusing on the country's space activities, transportation network, and further infrastructures and capacity building efforts, along with the other opportunity indicators. The data is further analyzed using a mixed approach. Firstly, a dual qualitative assessment is carried out resorting to the SWOT analysis, focusing on the country's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which is then crossed with a step peste analysis concerning the political, economic, socio-cultural, technological, and environmental aspects. This is then translated to a quantitative scale yielding to the Space Business Readiness Level. As to the questionnaire, it was shared via email during the month of August to distinguished members within the SGAC's African space community. We counted with the participation of more than 15 countries with a response rate a little over 40%. Note that the answers per country were not limited to a single entry. We will now briefly analyze some worth noting results.
As to the major international partner, the outcome of this question showcases the major economic and trading interests in Africa. With China being the largest trading partner, it is with no surprise that we see it being perceived as the major international partner, with the space sector benefiting from these bilateral agreements. Japan and the European countries are also paying close attention to the African development. Both entities have built up technology and development programs with many African countries and currently offer scholarships to the African nationals, enabling knowledge and technology transfer. One of the main indices showing the implication of a country in the STEM fields is the number of women actually working in the domain. For countries with perceived poor research conditions, summing up to 9 out of 16, in our list, the majority of women are not implicated in these STEM jobs. The quality of research is a key enabler for technology transfer and suitable innovation-driven growth. Most of the opinions gathered in the questionnaire pointed to perceived poor research conditions in Africa. Notwithstanding, the efforts to change that reality are well noted, as the African countries present increasing numbers of startup incubators throughout the years. As expected, better research conditions promote fruitful technology transfer, fomenting the establishment of more incubators.
The transport infrastructure is one of the main indices showing the readiness of a country to host investment. African countries count with several world-class infrastructures when it comes to international connectivity, as their economies primarily seek foreign investment. It is then paradigmatic to see that the perception of airports and maritime ports infrastructure's condition is better than for the railways and roadways. The formers promote connectivity with external markets, generally demanding for larger investment in infrastructures, whereas train and road transportation usually promotes country-level connectivity and are less expensive. A more up-leveled infrastructure condition concerning the railways and roadways would enable a more balanced development of a country as a whole and more uniform opportunities to exploit advantageous areas to the space sector out of the major metropolises. Note that inland countries may have inexistent conditions for ports infrastructure as highlighted in the histogram. In the end, we present the Space Business Readiness Level Index, which correspond to 3 different classes concerning the country's condition to promote fruitful investments in the space sector. From our analysis, we can conclude that the majority of the countries in our case study gather either favorable or improving conditions. 5 of them present scarce conditions to promote such efforts.
To summarize our findings, it is fair to conclude that economic partners tend to be the key supporters for further efforts in the space sector. In this case, China takes a leading role in our case study, with Europe and Japan following. As for infrastructure, we conclude that the ones promoting international connectivity, such as airports and maritime ports, are well developed in Africa, although demanding a larger initial investment. Lastly, the SBRL index suggests that the majority of African countries present attractive factors to promote innovation-driven space business development. As to future work, we plan to enlarge the case study to a broader set of nations and get first-person opinions from local decision-makers in the STEM area. And with these final remarks, we conclude the presentation about the Spacefaring Africa project, in efforts toward fulfillment of SGAC's mission to foment and empower the younger generations in space entrepreneurship worldwide. Please feel free to reach out to us or to check our webpage at spacegeneration.org/projects-commercial-space. Thank you so much.